You want to make it through a low income without going bankrupt? Are you struggling to keep ends meet? Do you fear falling behind and going into debt? Don't worry. With a little planning and money management, you can maintain your composure and continue on course. To get some excellent advice about surviving on a limited salary, keep watching this video. First, you must establish a budget. Making a budget for yourself is one of the first things you should do if you have a low income. Most individuals may not love this, but it is a necessary step if you want to live within your means and avoid getting into debt. Determine your entire monthly revenue before moving on to your necessary expenses, such as electricity costs and monthly rent. At the end of the month, you may calculate how much money is left over by deducting your costs from your revenue. You may calculate how much you must spend each week on food and entertainment because based on this discrepancy, you should also use this as a chance to examine your spending carefully and consider how you may improve your budget. Have you had cable? Perhaps it's time to sever the cord. Do you enjoy grabbing a coffee on the way to work every morning? It's time to begin making your coffee at home. The easiest approach to track your spending, prevent overspending and debt accumulation, and gain control over finances is to make a budget. Secondly, create an emergency fund. Lack of an emergency fund is one of the major pitfalls for those with modest incomes. When circumstances are bad, you may use this money to cover costs instead of using credit cards or loans. Even though it may seem challenging to save money when you are already struggling to make ends meet, it is achievable if you set and adhere to your budget. You may quickly save money by putting all of your spare cash into your savings account once you have deducted your budget to only your priorities. Putting any windfalls you might get straight into your savings is another excellent approach to increasing your emergency fund. If you have launched a side business, received a bonus at work, or received money for your grandmother's birthday, all of that money should go directly to your savings account. You may start paying down the debt you have accumulated once you have saved up at least $1,000. Use whatever excess money you have at the end of the month. Thirdly, put your spending in order. One of the first things you should do after examining your budget if you have a low income is to stop overspending. You may see where these extraneous frivolities cost you a lot. In the big picture, if you keep track of your expenditures for a month, do you consume alcohol or cigarettes? These behaviors ruin your finances. In addition to being harmful to your health, your best course of action is to reduce or give up these addictions. Do you pay a monthly membership fee for a club, cable, or music subscription? Such recurring monthly charges ought to be stopped. Utilizing the service's free tier, switching from cable to streaming, and stopping the subscription boxes will all allow you to continue enjoying your music. Number 4, take up home cooking. Your food budget will be one of your monthly costs. It's time to read some cookbooks and follow the directions if you are not a confident chef, especially if you have kids. Learning to cook can save you a ton of money and be a joyful and gratifying experience. Try some easy dishes at first, then as you become more comfortable, develop your cooking abilities and increase the variety of your monthly dinners. Next, you may bag the leftovers for lunch at work the following day to save money instead of eating at a fast food restaurant. Your monthly budget will sufficiently change once you start cooking your meals regularly. Number 5, take a roommate. If you have made several cuts but are still having trouble making ends meet, it's time to look at your living circumstances. You might want to think about getting a roommate if you reside in an area where the rent is greater than you can afford. You may save money by renting an apartment jointly rather than relocating to a room that has been rented. Sometimes the room will be rented for more money than it would cost to share the rent in half by the other individual. This can be a terrific alternative if you already live in a pleasant apartment. If finding a roommate is not a possibility, you may want to think about if it's time to relocate to a region where housing costs are more in line with your budget. It may be exciting and interesting to live in a city, but it's time to relocate to the suburbs so you can get your finances in order. Another thing you have to consider is to modify your future. After a while, you will discover that living on a low income budget can be a taxing and unsustainable over an extended length of time. If you have been working in a low paying position, now is time to evaluate your life and determine if you want to remain in this position or move on. If you were unable to attend college due to sad circumstances, now is the time to decide if you should start a business or acquire a trade to help you get out of the circle of poverty. You must have to discover more comfortable low-income living advice. There are only a few pieces of advice for living on a low budget that you may use right now. Create a budget first, make cuts to all superfluous spending, and set aside money for emergencies. Spend money wisely, start cooking at home, and if you are having difficulties paying your rent, consider getting a roommate. Remind yourself to be positive, since if you take the right actions to accomplish more in the future, having a low salary will just be a temporary situation. Remind yourself that having a low salary is a temporary situation, that you can bounce back to normalcy if you so choose and start being self-sufficient in the future. If there is any point you think I missed, let me know about it in the comments. I will see you in the next one.